if my boss should call, the world it seems so very small. 'Cause nothing even matters at all. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters at all. Nothing even matters. Nothing even
See, I don't need no alcohol. Your love makes me feel 10 feet tall. Without it, I go through withdrawal. 'Cause nothing even matters at all. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters.
These buildings can drift out to sea, a natural catastrophe, but there's no place I'd rather be. 'Cause nothing even matters to me. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters. Nothing even
You're part of my identity. I sometimes have a tendency to look at you religiously. Yeah, but nothing even matters to me.
Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters. You won't find me at no store. I have no time for manicures. With you it's never either or. 'Cause nothing even matters. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters at all. Nothing even Nothing even matters.
Now my team could score and make it to the Final Four. Just repossess me 4x4. Yeah, 'cause nothing even matters no more.
Nothing even matters.
Nothing even matters, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nothing even matters to me.
Nothing but you. Nothing but you. Boo.
Yo, what's going on? Happy Wednesday. What's happening, good people? It's your man, B. False. Brian False is back in the building. It's time for another episode of the In the Zone podcast. It's been an interesting week. I've got a special guest in studio. I'm super excited. I got some of my people on the line virtually. It's going to be an interesting conversation, y'all. First and foremost, what's in it for the black people? What is in it for the black people? Network Media. I'm happy to be here again. Let me introduce my guest for the day before we even get started. You know this man. He's on your Friday airwaves right here for What's in it for the Black People Media. Every Friday, 7 o'clock, talking about relationships, love, sex, marriage. Y'all seen him. You know it. It's my man, Chris the Critic. What's happening, brother?
What's going on, people? How you all doing this fine Wednesday evening?
Brother, we good. It's good to see you.
I'm excited to be here. I feel like I'm about to get beat up on. I don't know if this was some sort of, I mean, they look real smart right now.
It was a setup. It
might have been. That's okay. We got a cocktail, so we'll be good.
No doubt. I hope everybody's got a little cocktail enjoying this evening. This 60-degree weather. Cheers. Then we got my girl. You've seen her on the blackboard. I had to steal her for an episode or 2 or 3. We'll see how many times I can get her back. My girl Carson Charisma. What's going on, lady?
Hi guys. How's everyone?
Good evening. How you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. And then the studio.
I'm excited. I'm ready to talk.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I bet you. I know you ready. I already know. And in this studio, I've got somebody here that I have known my entire life. Perhaps my favorite family member. Ain't none I'm watching, hopefully, other than you right now. My favorite cousin, my first cousin, my sister, Tamika. What's going on, Mika?
Everything's good.
Get in front of what I say about
Everything's good.
Everything's good?
Excited to be here.
Did you tell your girls you was going to be on?
I did tell them, but I don't think they remembered. So they can watch the replay.
That's all right. They can watch the repeat. They go, pull that. I know you know how to talk into the mic. Don't be acting shy now.
I'm shy.
Again, I've known you my whole life.
We're not shy.
Shy is not what Rycross do.
No, we are not shy.
Hey, y'all. So we got an interesting topic today. First of all, let me say this. I'm in Facebook jail for another 12 days. So there's been some conversations going on. I cannot get in, and it's killing me. So I got 2 things to say, and then we're going to jump into the conversation. 1, I don't give a shit about Harry and Meghan or Markle, whatever the hell her name is. Why y'all so invested in these motherfuckers? I have no idea. 2, Coming to America sucked. I don't care how it was a family reunion.
That's a whole nother story.
It was good to see him. It was an awful.
I've yet to watch it.
Awful. Do not watch it. It was awful.
Well, because Coming to America is my favorite movie, so I'm afraid to watch it.
Oh, you definitely should not watch this then.
You just
it'll be better than at least 100 movies you've seen.
What'd you say, Chris?
It'll be better than at least 100 movies she has seen and thought were good.
Let me ask this. What do you all think about Tyler Perry productions in general?
Oh my God, it is not like Tyler Perry. You will not compare it to Tyler Perry.
Yes, I will.
It's not that bad.
I absolutely will.
It's that bad?
I think my cousin likes Tyler Perry productions.
I really don't.
But
you saying it compares to Tyler Perry?
I'm saying that at the hour and 10-minute mark, I turned over and went to sleep. Not fell asleep. Purposely went to bed on it.
It is not that bad. It can't be.
It's not that bad, but it's not that good either.
All right. Well, I think that might be my watch for tonight. Well, we got to see.
That's a whole other In the Zone podcast.
Everyone has their own opinion about it.
Obviously, it seems like it's a split down the middle. Everybody loves it. Everybody hates it. I'm in the I can't believe y'all like this camp. But anyway, neither here nor there. Tonight's topic. It's a very interesting issue. The male ego. People like to denigrate us for how fragile our egos are. People like to give us shit for how tied our penises are into our egos and how they often stir the drink that is our ego. You all say we have overinflated egos often as men. We're going to dive into why that is, why it's not true, potentially, and figure this all out. And I've got 3 opinionated folks I know that got lots to say about it. So let's get right into it. Let me act like I'm smart for 2 seconds, because I looked up the definition of ego. Ego, a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. The part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity. So the talk of the town, if you go in any beauty shop, is how delicate the male ego is, how fragile we are when it comes to our egos. Tamika, you here? So I'm looking at you. I'm going to ask you first. Is there validity to this statement? Or do you find our egos to be that fragile?
Very fragile.
Very fragile. Elaborate.
To sum it all up, you all can take it. You can dish it out, but you can't take it.
Meaning?
That you expect certain things and you will behave in a certain way with your significant other.
Nah, all the certain ways. Like, give me something. Give me some details.
Okay, you act like an ass. And we're expected to tolerate it in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we put it back on you, you can't handle it. You shut down, you don't communicate, you walk away with the tail between your legs. So that's just the way it is. Very fragile.
Carson, do you co-sign this?
I do, not in the sense of the same necessarily manner. I do understand where she's coming from. However, I do believe that not all masculinity is fragile, but there is a such thing as fragile masculinity. And for me, it stems from when it comes anything from sexuality, the fact that men can be promiscuous and do what they want. And if a woman takes, liberties over her own body and her sexual freedom, that's an issue and a problem. And again, to her point, dish it, but can't take it. It's okay for them to sleep around and be promiscuous. But if a woman wants to explore her sexuality, that is a problem. Also, in the terms of sexuality, when it comes to the LGBTQ community, that's gay, or I don't want to go get my nails done, or that's too feminine for me. In terms of communication, to her point, communication or lack thereof, being emotional, men are taught, at a young age, rub some dirt in it, don't cry. When all actuality, vulnerability is showing strength. To be able to be vulnerable. And so I do agree that there is a such thing as fragile masculinity. Does every man have it? Who's to say? I haven't met every man in the world, right? But there is a such thing, and we do put pressure on men to behave and to act a certain way in regards of manhood and what that looks like culturally.
Okay, so you haven't met every man in the world, but you've met men. Percentage-wise, how many men would you say have a fragile ego from the men you've encountered?
The men that I've encountered, I would say about 70-75%. It's more so than not. And then especially you have to understand too, my generation, I am a millennial. And so I think it has gotten, and I can't speak for any other generation, but the only generation that I know really outside of that is my father, my grandfather. And it definitely looks different between, my grandfather prior to his passing. It looked a little bit different for him as well as my father. And then it looks a little bit different between my brother and my father, right? So generationally, I think it looks different as well.
That's fair. Okay. Chris?
First, thank you, ladies. Those are some nice, well-stated answers. I disagree with a lot of them, but, and I'm going to speak for all men on the planet.
On the whole planet.
Well, let's think about it. to everybody, y'all jump out when I say something that's not true. I mean, men have been the same since the beginning of the time. But what has been changing are women, and most of that for the better. Women make more money. They're very educated. I love y'all. I had somebody with very opinionated right in the next room. And I love her to death, but I think, especially in our community, when you were a little girl in beauty shop, how many people said you don't need a man? Grow up, have your own money, have your own this. So y'all learned how to be real strong. But now y'all talk a lot of shit about nothing sometimes. And I think what y'all are mistaken is male fragile egos was us saying, well, wait a minute, man, we under attack sometimes. Sometimes it's well warranted because our mistakes are well documented. I'm the first to admit it. We are a very simple creature. I didn't say slow, but simple. That's all I'm saying. I just think it's a lot of finger pointing.
So can I say something?
Absolutely.
So what I think, Chris, here, what you're talking about is fragile femininity, and there is a such thing. But this topic tonight is about fragile masculinity, right? Oh. And so
you're not gonna let us turn it on you?
No, we're not, because that's not what we're discussing here. No, but I do agree. There is a certain again, fragile femininity as far as I don't need a man. We are taught to be independent, and that's great. That's a beautiful thing. And I think we've talked about it prior, Brian, in previous conversations. I definitely, number one, personally am an alpha female. However, I do know the importance and how to be submissive. However, I'm not going to be submissive to someone who I do not feel can lead properly. And so I personally, I think it also has to do with my background. My parents have been married 30 years. I am a daddy's girl. He definitely taught me to get how to change oil and change a tire on the car and, different things like that. And I know how to cut grass. Have I ever had to do those things? No, because my dad would take care of those things for me. However, if I needed to, I would know how, right? And so I think it's for what you're saying. I think it comes for women to have a balance of being independent, but also knowing how to let a man be a man. And I think that's important. But we're not necessarily talking about that tonight. So,
how women's, however you put it, ego, the perception of our ego. I mean, we have to talk about the woman, because what may be perceived as a fragile male ego is a heightened female fragility. But my honest answer is, Joe, I knew I was gonna poke fun at y'all. I do think that men can have fragile egos, no doubt. If you ask around, that's what people always say. But it's no more fragile than females' ego as well. I think
it's a lot more fragile.
I think we have a society. Men right now, especially black men too, are basically under the same type of light that we've put on white men in the past. It's almost like they can't even stand up and say, I'm just happy to be a proud American white man without getting shot down. So, for instance, if you see I don't know, and you pointed it out, Carson, right? Mm-hmm. On the feminist movement that's here, okay? If you tell any one of those women, hey, you just pointed out a couple of facts, they're wrong. Here it is. It's all part of some dogmatic ideology. They will come at you with knives just for disagreeing with them. And I think that's fragility on their part, not necessarily a man. Now, what is fragile male ego is, I see this as well. You see a lot of men, and I don't know if they're angry, bitter, or what. I do see some heightened, at least on social media, attacks on women that I think are unwarranted. And I do think, Brian, that there's a segment of men in the minority who they are a little more, probably a little more fragile, because, it's a lot of pressures on them. A lot of women are out earning men. A lot of men don't have education or jobs. And a man is told throughout his life he's supposed to do this, that, and the other. So I do think that there's a small faction of men with heightened fragile egos, but that's the minority. It's mostly y'all popping off.
So let me jump in here. Chris said a lot. I'm gonna let the ladies get back in, but all right. Here's the thing: are there pieces of our ego that are fragile? Absolutely. If I've got a woman and she goes and sleeps with somebody else, I'm devastated. Yes. Are you devastated as well? Of course you are. Are we more devastated? Probably. So I'll give you that. If that's what we're talking about. Okay. So we might be a little fragile there. There are certain cats, as Chris said, if I can't have my woman earn more money than me and blah, blah, suckers. But I mean, that's what, that's where you are.
Well, that's what's going on in the world today.
But I embrace it. I applaud it.
And more men should accept it because
one scene, one dream. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm married that way. Let's go.
We have to support ourselves because we see that there's opportunities that we can advance, and sometimes we can do the job better than a man.
No doubt.
So don't beat us up or don't make us feel like we're inferior or we can't.
Here's where I push back on that, cuz I agree with that 100%. Here's where I disagree. Here's where I push back for conversation's sake and for my truth. You can say that and we can applaud it or whatever, but the minute you throw it in our face and we buck back at it, you'll say, yo, fragile ass. I'm not being fragile. You just launched it in my grill, so I fired back.
Well,
you
I don't
can't
agree with even a woman throwing it in.
But y'all do it.
I'm not.
Oh yeah, I mean it happens.
It happens.
So I don't agree with that, but I mean, if we're together and we're making moves together, then embrace what I'm doing, and we can be successful together. It's not about me competing with my man, or he, think that he is inferior to me because I have a better job, I make more money, or whatever the case.
Is it not a competition, Carson? Is there not a competition element here?
I don't think it should be a competition. I do think innately
should be.
Innately it is, right? I don't think it should be, but innately there is some sort of competitive spirit within all of us, and we subconsciously do compete with our partners, with our friends, with our family members, right? Like that's not even on purpose, right? But it's like we want to be better, we want to strive, even if it's not an envy thing or trying to be spiteful. It's almost a motivator, almost, right? You would hope for it to be.
You would hope.
But I wanted to mention, we say, okay, right now that's what's happening in the world, right? Black women are more than ever CEOs. We're the most educated group of people, and so. But then you look on the other hand, if we're talking about Black individuals, right? 1 in every 4 Black men will enter the criminal justice system at some point in time in his life, right? So that already systematically sets us up to be uneven in a sense, right? And so I think that also has to do with fragile masculinity, because once that one out of 4 men, once he's out, which is a lot of men, once he's out, he's now always playing catch up. He's always trying to catch up. And I think because the world and society says you have to have the job, you have to make more money, you have to be the protector and provider, that also plays a part in it as well. And so I think we have to look at things in a systematic way, as well as, take it all the way back to slavery days when they were breaking up families and, buck breaking men, right? Like that had to do with masculinity and stripping men of their masculinity in front of their families. So I think it's just a cycle that has continued, because I don't think fragile masculinity is necessarily a man's fault. Once you know it and you're aware of it, I think once you know better, you do better. But I do think societal pressures have caused men to be fragile in their masculinity.
Interesting. Chris, jump in on that.
Well, they brought up some good points, especially talking about the relationship. I think, though, and Brian, you mentioned it first, I don't think with healthy married couples, there is no competition. My parents, before my dad passed, were married 52 years. I couldn't tell you who was making more. It always seems like my mother did, right? She always said what was going on, right? My wife got promoted today, vice president. Shout out to you. She's watching the show.
Shout out.
Congrats.
I'm happy about it, you know? Now, but I think where the competition comes in is in the dating world with single folk. And it's part, like you ladies alluded to, a man having a fragile ego and also almost lashing out if he feels he's not up to snuff to the women that might, you know, not pay him any attention because of his career or whatever the case. But then you also have, and you alluded to this, Carson, the women sort of put it on a guy. Well, I don't want to settle. I need a man doing this, that, and the other, right? And I think that in terms of male fragility, I don't think that helps the problem, but that is something that I don't think married men and women compete like that. I just heard that said. I just think that's not true.
So let me ask both the ladies to that point. You're both single, meaning not married at this moment. I don't get deeper than that. Do you find any validity in what Chris is saying? In the Tamika, in the dating world?
There's competition?
That the competition exists.
I think it can. I think
in your experience.
in my
Your vast experience.
I didn't see it personally.
Okay. You didn't see it.
I didn't see it personally, but was it there? It could have been.
Okay, but you can't
I
say
did.
I know this dude was okay.
Yeah, no.
Carson from the millennial
Yeah,
side.
for me, I've only had one relationship where I felt it was very competitive in nature, and more so where, as Chris just, announced and clapped for his wife, there wasn't a lot of clapping and celebration when something beneficial happened to me or an accomplishment was reached, a goal was reached. It was more so, well, I'm doing this as well. So I've only had one situation of that nature where it was very competitive. Clearly that situation is no longer because I do believe that although it happens, it shouldn't necessarily be the case. So
Yeah, so good for you, by the way, Carson. You don't need no brother that don't want to celebrate your accomplishments.
okay.
Little dick, man. Sorry, kidding. I will push back on this, Chris, though. I think there can be an element of competition in marriage, even in a partnership, even in the best of partnerships. And to what Carson alluded to earlier, I think that if there can be such thing as a healthy competition, right? Like, all right, my partner is doing this. I want to keep up. I want to do my part. I want to make sure I'm not a drag on our future. I want to make, all right, he did that. Boom, that was dope. All right, if my baby can do that, I can do some things. And it's kind of this fuel to the fire to each other, and not a, damn, he did that, I got to go do this shit because he can't be better than me. I mean, if that's where you at, then that's terrible. But if there's this mutual fuel that you push each other with, because you want to be not only your equal, but you want to better the relationship and your future, I think that type of quote unquote competition, I don't know if competition might even be the right word there.
I won't even say that that's competition.
Yeah.
That's just you're motivating your partner.
Maybe it's motivation.
To be better.
Yeah.
Because competition
Yeah.
means that I want to be better.
I want to outdo you, right?
I don't want to be better. We want to be better together.
Right.
So it's not really a competition.
That's fair. Let me ask you this, cuz most fragile ego you've ever encountered. You don't have to say a name, but tell me about it. Or say a name if you want to.
No, I'm not gonna do that. So, I mean, because it can be said differently. I mean, my scenario could be different than the next scenario.
I'm
So
asking for your.
It's not about.
I'm asking for
the
your
job.
scenario.
Fragile.
The most fragile male ego you've ever encountered. Tell me why it was and how you figured that out.
I don't even know why. I wish I did know why. But I can't, it doesn't get more fragile than you blocking me off social media because you were uncomfortable with a situation that happened. And there was no argument, there were no ill words, there was no waving the finger or anything like that. It was just, you didn't like me holding you accountable for something, And when I moved on,
Blockade.
a blockade.
Blockade.
So that's fragile.
Yikes.
And that goes back to you were offended for something that I did, but you did it first. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
Without explaining my whole situation.
Well, let's not get too.
That's all I can say about it.
Okay. All right. Blockade. Carson.
Let's see. There's so many. Well, I would have to say, I was dating a young man, and we had decided, well, that's a whole nother story. We didn't necessarily decide, it kind of just happened. We won't talk about it, but we started like living together. And so
Wait, stop. Pause.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. What do you mean it wasn't decided, just kind of sort of? So
no, literally, he was like at my house like often, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And then I had this accomplishment. I graduated from grad school, and he was like, hey, babe, like I'm gonna pay rent this month. And I was like, that's your gift. I was like, oh, cool, thanks. Save some money in my pocket. Thanks, appreciate it. And then I guess he thought like, and then the next day it was like bags. And I was like, yo, what are you doing? like what? Like you're going to go home, right? He's like, yeah, no, I stopped paying rent there like a month ago. Like,
you
and I was
got
like,
set
oh,
up,
wow.
homie.
I got set up. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. So needless to say, that didn't last long because I clearly wasn't in the space to move in with someone, whatever. So within like the first month of him, like just kind of just bringing all the shit to my house, I was working with a guy doing like some Airbnb stuff. I was like, okay, he had purchased some property here, but he didn't live here. He said, hey, would you host to be the host? Put it up online. People come in and get the key from you, all this good stuff, make sure that everything's cleaned up. I'm like, yeah, cool. And I'll pay you. Of course, right? Extra income. Let's
Airbnb management situation. I got you.
Right. Of course. So I'm like, okay, cool. This gentleman was someone that I dated when I was like in 10th grade. So I like dated, right? Like he was a boyfriend in 10th grade.
Class type shit. Got you.
Right. Exactly. And so, I did express this to the guy that I was dating at the time. Like, hey, this is somebody that I dated when I was younger. Clearly not like that, but I'm going to work with him. Yeah, cool. Great. I allowed them to meet, make sure everyone's comfortable. Later on, long story short, he goes through my phone. Number one, that's number one. Very, very fragile masculinity right there to even put your fingers on my phone. Like, let's be very clear. I don't go through phones as a woman. So, and not to stereotype, but come on, bruh, like you're going through phones. So he went through my phone. He sees a message with this young man saying, hey, lock the door when you leave. For whatever reason, he put it in his head that I had spent the night, something had transpired. So again, to Cuz's point, I'm sorry, your name, I keep calling you Cuz, but I know you're not Cuz.
Right. Tamika.
You call her Cuz, we all family. We all family tonight. Call her Cuz.
We're all family. To Tamika's point, Tamika/Cuz, to her point, there was no conversation. I literally came home, opened the door, all of his stuff is like gone. So I was like, okay, everything's gone. So I'm like, okay. So I call him. I'm like, what's up? He's like, you've been cheating on me. I went through your phone. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, what is going on? And so needless to say, that situation was dead and done at that point, but very fragile, very, very fragile.
He was wrong for that, but you shouldn't have cheated on him, though.
What? Like,
you was wrong for that.
What are you talking about?
It was a good setup with the Airbnb situation, too. I like your cover.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
dope.
my goodness. You guys are ridiculous.
I was like, yeah, she cheated. I'm taking some notes.
Ridiculous.
Hold on, I gotta ask Chris. Chris, I know we're defending the male fragility here, but I'm sure we both have encountered a
absolutely.
fragile. Give me your story, bro. Your worst male fragile.
Well, I happen to know, and it is odd because a few minutes ago I named some guys on this end of the spectrum, but there are some what I feel successful brothers out here. They look the part, they have a career, they got the money. But I think they're overly critical of women. It's never a woman perfect enough. I think that's a sign on them that they're sort of because real confident people, men or women, you don't see that level of pettiness usually in successful folk. And I see that a lot.
I disagree.
And I would even go so far as to say in the black community,
I'm petty as fuck.
You might see a lot of brothers with it. Am I wrong for that? No?
No, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Lee, I was asking the wife across. Say, what you think, Lee? Louder for them. Oh, she didn't want to get on. All right. What about you, Brian?
Well, I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
Do you think that did you see that? I mean, you're on social media, you know just about any and everybody, at least in this state. And I see a lot of successful brothers angry, and I think that's a sign on them.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. If you are a successful, quote unquote, because success is a
Right.
is a range,
Relative,
right?
right.
Is a spectrum. So
Right.
a quote unquote successful black man that has all this animosity and bitterness towards successful black women, then yeah, I do give you a bit of the side eye. Like, were you like kidnapped and waterboarded by some chicks one time, or I like what's the issue, bro? I don't get like this. The world is your playground. Like, I don't get what your issue is, but yeah, go ahead, Chris.
No, that's all I was going to say.
Okay.
But I think I'm sorry. No, go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
No, it's good. So,
Well, I was going to tell. I got to tell her this. So I do this relationship show that Brian talked about. We did a whole episode on to Shaq or not to Shaq.
Oh my God, don't do it.
Being with somebody again, that relationship is not going to work.
No, I'm not. No, I will never. But like I said, I wasn't even ready to do that. It was like you showed up one day and I'm like, yo, like what? Like, wait, you just stopped paying rent over there? You just came here and you stopped.
He slowly crept his ass in.
It was insane. And then when I had the conversation, like, yo, like I really wasn't ready for this. You just kind of like barged in. We didn't have a conversation. And then that's when it kind of spiraled. So to your point, Chris, yeah, no, I'm good on it.
We don't do that.
I will, that's a whole nother show. Anyway, I'm not coming to this. Let me speak on mine real quick. So, as Chris already said, he did a whole show on this, so I'm not even diving into that. So, I was cool, and I throw that up in air quotes, cool enough with this cat. So, here's what's funny. People think that, oh, man, he came to your crib. Y'all must have been cool. Like, bruh, I've had thousands of people. I'm not persnickety when it comes to my house. Like, come on over and kick it. I'm not. Like, it's whatever. If I half kind of sort of know you and think you won't steal my DVDs, you can come over to the crib. So, so I had this dude. We were cool or whatever. And we were both married, by the way. And I had this group, Facebook group. And it was very active, and we had a lot of fun, and we talked shit or whatever. And there were ladies in it or whatever. And he was doing, like, I don't know if he was serious or not, but he would slide up in the DMs or the IMs or whatever you want to, depending on your social media, and shoot his shot or whatever. And I mean, if that's, at everybody, if that's what you're doing, then I mean, that's what you're doing. I don't know, he might have just been flirting. I don't know. I'm not in all that. But I had built relationships with these ladies, friendships, above board. But for whatever reason, he felt threatened that they would be having conversations in their IMs or DMs, and my name would come up. And for whatever reason, he felt it was like a competition, like blah blah blah. And at some point, it got to be like, oh, fuck Brian, he ain't shit. You think he nice? He ain't even cool. He was saying this, and about you, which wasn't true, right? So then of course he would come back to me. I mean, the ladies would come back to me and be like, B, I thought we were cool. And I'd be like, what? And they'd be like, he said, but I'm like, I didn't never say. So anyway, he's undermining friendships for pussy?
For the pussy.
Yeah, I mean, but you don't even have to undermine me because I'm not fucking. So you don't even got to get me out the way. I don't understand why.
It don't matter. They'll undermine any and everybody for the pussy.
Clearly. It was crazy. So I never quite understood that, and I never will. And
that's an age-old chump's way of trying to get close to women by downing someone else.
That part. Real
players don't do that.
If I was hitting and you wanted to get me out, you wanted to remove your competition, or we was both trying to hit you, is bitch, but I at least understand it. I'm not even in there, bruh. Go do I'm not a roadblock. I'm not an impediment. I don't know why you even. Anyway, not the point. Fragile as hell though. It was the original point. Let me ask this. So the flip side of this coin, we've said that we've argued men have some fragile egos. Sure. I've also heard, which always interests me, that males' egos are super inflated, which seems like an interesting dichotomy to me, right? Like, how are you fragile and super inflated? So is that a thing? Have you encountered it? Why do you think it is? Tamika, I'm throwing it to you. So Carson, you still cuz. Tamika, Throwing it to you.
I don't think I've experienced a super inflated ego, but
I'm sorry. Have we met? Pleasure. I'm Brian.
well, you don't count. You can't. Like ill.
I didn't say sex. I'm just saying it.
Saying, like, yeah. But I mean, I've heard my friends talk about super inflated egos. You know, they have to talk about themselves all the time, talk about, oh, I drive this, or my house is this big, or I make this amount of money, I can do this for you. But I haven't.
Now, is that, in that case, is that game? Or is that really, because I could argue that the big house, the fancy car, and all that is a mask, a makeup for an underinflated ego.
Well, I think
Right.
when the woman entertains all of that, the ego inflates. It could have started out small and they're just talking about their successes. But when you get groupies, I'll say, I don't know what to call them, and
You've gotten success with this method.
it works. So then they say, oh, well, that's how I can keep getting the amount of women that I get, or, you know, the amount of attention based on me talking about myself and not caring about the situation, or me getting really to know this person or that person.
Right.
It's just all about you.
Okay.
To me, that's just my opinion.
Interesting. Carson?
An inflated ego is fragile masculinity, right?
Tied together, aren't they?
Because they're mutually exclusive, right? Because if I have to talk about myself and about the cars that I drive and the money that I make and how big my dick is and how many women I've slept with,
Oh,
and, you know,
wow.
all this stuff. If I have to talk about all of it, right? It's because I'm fragile in my masculinity. What do they say? The loudest people in the room usually are the brokest. And that's not necessarily meaning money, right? That's not necessarily financially. You're broken somewhere, right? I don't have to walk into a room and say, I'm Carson, and read off my accomplishments, right? Like, who I am speaks for itself, right? It should, right? And so if you meet a man who's very inflated in his ego, it's because his masculinity is very fragile, and he feels the need to live up to these societal pressures to say, I am this, I am that, I have this, I have that, I have done this, I have done that.
Interesting. Chris, the inflated
Well, I got a
ego.
big ass, ego, but
I was about
I
to
got a
say,
big
'cause
ego.
I don't know many people as arrogant as me. You probably up there.
Right. Yeah. What? Yeah. Look, but if I look at it as, if you don't believe in yourself, then nobody else will. I feel Brian has a similar ego, but I don't think he necessarily brags. But I think, I'm 5'10" on a good day. Brian is, but I think it's a presence when either of us walk in a room.
Hey.
And that's okay. That's okay. But Brian, hold on. That's okay.
In my Timberlands,
right?
I'm a good 5'9". Hold on.
A good 5'9". No, I think, Chris, that's okay. There's a difference between saying I have a presence when I walk in the room, right? Like I just said, I have a presence when I walk in the room. I know who I am. Tamika, she's aware of who she is. And Brian, Chris, you know who you are, and you stand in that, and that's okay. And you should, as you should. We are beautiful, educated Black people. We should stand in that, and we should command a certain presence when we walk in the room, as we do. However, there's a difference between me just naturally commanding that presence and me walking in and saying, well, I got this degree. I drove here in my Mercedes.
Yeah, I agree.
You
That's
see what I'm saying? There's a difference.
That type of thing and I always try to tell young people, don't even do that, because if you think, okay, you got $200 in your pocket, there's somebody out there with 2,000. You know what I'm saying? You're driving a Benz, there's somebody out there with the new Bentley truck. So just stop. So I get that, but I don't. I've seen some real confident dudes that are broke. They walk in the room I grew up with. These dudes, they walk in with a tank top on. They leaving with whoever. And
I had a guy approach me in a car, and he said, hey, are you single? Are you seeing anyone? I was like, no, actually, like I'm dating. I'm not. I was like, but I'm dating. I have a boyfriend. And he was like, well, does he drive this car? I was like, what? Like, that's your way? Was I supposed to be like, no, he doesn't. Take me now.
He'd have been horrible in bed. You didn't want to sleep with him.
Right.
Right. Yeah. You better off his stick shift near your But so yeah, I think there's a difference between. So there's levels to this, right? There's arrogance.
Maybe we do have a bunch of fragile egos. Look, I'm like,
The more I think about it, so there's arrogance and there's
Finally.
confidence.
we got
and,
yeah.
no, that's right. We make up for it in a lot of ways, but I think there's arrogance, which is over the line, right? And arrogance generally doesn't tie to. I mean, maybe it's tied to a little bit, but to what you own and what you can do. But I mean, there might be a little piece of that. But I've known a lot of broke, arrogant motherfuckers. So, that's a different thing. Then there's confidence, which I think all ladies like a little bit of confidence, a little swagger, a little self-assurance. That's fine. And then there's this overinflated ego piece, which I think we're kind of touching on now, right? Like where your accomplishments, your possessions, the suits you've got on, the shoes you're wearing, blah, blah, blah. Like all of these things make up for this lack of ego. And now you're portraying this overinflated ego, which really is flimsy. It's really a shell. It's really a smokescreen, a mirage, if you will, of your insecurities and issues. And all these possessions and, blah, 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 they're covering up some real deep-seated insecurities.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a difference there. Like I'm borderline arrogant. I don't think I have a big ego though, because I'm broke. So
Right. I feel that. Can I ask a question?
Wait, hold on, Carl. What do you mean? You feel what? What exactly do you feel? What I said?
No. Everything you said. Stop it. Everything you said. No, everything you said. I agree with that. But no, I have a question. I think it's important to always talk about where things like stem from. So do you all think, and I don't know if everyone here, whether you have children or not, I am not a parent, but especially our young men, if anyone has boys that they're raising, have raised, how do you think parenting affects fragile masculinity as these our young people grow into adulthood? How did it affect you all, men, my Brian, Chris? How did it affect you all, how you were raised?
That's a fantastic question. Tamika, you've got a 24, 5? How old is he?
Kyle is 27.
Oh, you look
Is he
good.
27? Shut the front door. Is he that old?
He's old.
Jesus Christ. All right, I'm
I'm
sorry.
just getting better. He's old.
You haven't changed. He looks 106.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Kyle's 27. Go ahead.
He was raised to be, well, he's already like a laid back type of person anyway.
Truth.
He was raised to be humble, just appreciate what you have. And I always used to tell him, the world is cruel. They will eat you alive. The world won't love you like your mama love you. So don't go out in the world thinking that you all of that, because they will quickly
Let you know
bring
you're
you
not.
back down.
That's right.
So, and I'll bring him back down when he gets a little too arrogant with me, but he's not that type of person. And I think that comes from the way he was brought up. Respect your elders, be happy and humble with the things that you have, because they can be taken away at any time.
Sure. And Sean plays a part in that.
His dad plays a great part in that, So he was raised, we pat ourselves on the back. He's a good kid.
No, he is.
Young man.
Kid.
Not a kid anymore.
That's a
Young man.
grown ass man.
Right.
20, is he 27? That's, good Lord, I'm old. Chris, what do you think? Yeah, but you have girls.
I have 3 girls. It's the Lord's way of getting back at me.
Now, I was just about to say you was awful when you were younger, because you got
That's all right.
girls.
That's all right. I was a menace, but
Well, we went to school together. I know.
I think I acted. I had certain lessons for girls. I believe women should have a lot of confidence, right? I believe all children should have a lot of confidence. And I wasn't married when I had my first. She's 26, but I did everything by the book. But I told her boys weren't as smart. So when they make you mad one day, it's because they're 5 years emotionally slower. And I have a 9 and 11-year-old upstairs. And then if you go ask them, boys, when do they get smart? And they say 25. And I say, because I used to be a boy. And so that's
maybe
what
25. Maybe.
But I acted bigger than life and very arrogant, because I wanted them to feel that their dad could handle it all. And so my oldest, I say, look, if it's a situation, you ask yourself, what would Chris Levy do? Now she asks herself, what would I do? I mean, but
that's what's up though.
She went through. She felt she was better, and I think that is a danger in that. She became a humble person, but I mean, she was top of the class. She went to Whitney Young, Howard,
Whitney Young, baby, Dolphins,
baby, at Northwestern Law School, president of the Black Law. The kid is just phenomenal. But I think you have to have a chip on your shoulder, male or female, and I think that is fragility in dads. We know that we aren't perfect, but we don't. I mean, we have to overcompensate because we don't want our kids to think that they have less than someone else. That's all. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but I know well, she's older now. She knows I'm very human, but I think it's a lot of fragility, and I don't always think it's a bad thing. You know?
No, I hear you. So, Carson, hit me with your question again, real fast. I'm sorry.
Well, and so my question was basically like, how are you, if you have sons, how are you raising them? And what are you doing to maybe prevent that fragile masculinity? Or if you don't have sons, in Chris's case, you know, how were you raised to maybe make you the way you are today?
I can. Go ahead, Brian.
That's yeah. Just I was just double checking.
That's a great
making sure that's what you said. I've been sipping, so I'm just double checking. So I don't know that I would. My mother gave me, and Tamika could speak to this, a lot of rope. Probably too much rope, to be frank.
Did you hang yourself?
More than once. I don't. My neck is severed in several places. But that's one way to do it, right? Like she was like, okay, if that's what you want to do. So she gave me these lanes, multiple lanes, a 6-lane highway to figure out what it is I was going to do and which way I was going to go. I love her for it in a lot of ways, and in a couple of ways, I wish she had tightened that rope just a little bit. So I start with that to say I take that lesson to. I have 3 sons. One's 19. Yeah, one's 19, one's 16, and one is 7. So, you know, the 7-year-old, we still figuring it out. But the 19 and the 16-year-old, I took those lessons and I applied it to them, right? Like every mistake I made, every misstep I took, the ones I continue to take, I misstep often. I take those lessons and I take them back to them and say, had I known this then, had I thought about that in that moment, had I known what I know now. And I try to impart that knowledge on them to the best of my ability. Now, they're still going to do what they're going to do. Sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't. I often say that my 16-year-old learns way more from his 19-year-old than he does from me, because he'll watch him fuck up and he'll say, oh, yeah, see that? That's right. That's a landmine that's coming from me, like me saying, in 1982, that's nothing to him, right? But he sees his brother misstep 2 years ahead of him and be like, oh, yeah, all right, I'm avoiding that landmine. I don't need to do that. But when it comes to, you know, masculinity and treatment of women and how you hold yourself and carry yourself, I really do try to instill in them that you don't have to be braggadocious. You don't have to be over the top. You don't have to do this. Lay in the cut. Do you. And doing you will always ensure you win, because people will gravitate to you for who you really are. If you throw up all these other high signs and nonsense and bullshit, people get attracted to that, right? But then you get bullshit people because they're attracted to your bullshit. Throw out your realness, who you really are. Be true to who you are and how you feel, and you'll get that back. You know, even if, you know, they're not the great, you'll always run into some bullshit people or whatever, but they'll be bullshit to your real shit as opposed to bullshit to your bullshit. And I prefer that, and I hope they prefer that. And I've learned that lesson.
From the bullshit and gravitate to the people who are being real and true to them.
You figure that out, right? Yeah. You got to figure that out. But if you're not even true to you, how can you figure out
exactly
who's true to anything else?
Right.
So.
Well, and I asked that because, you know, Chris mentioned, you know, in the very start of this conversation, you know, I told him, jokingly, we were talking, we're not talking about fragile femininity. We're not talking about that. But, it is a part of the conversation, to his point, because we do perpetuate societal pressures, in a sense, for men to be a certain way. And I have no problem holding myself accountable in that way, speaking for females in general. But I think, I have two parents. I don't have children. I'm 28 years old. And, hopefully one day I'll get married and have kids if that's the route I decide to go.
Oh,
But
that's so cute. You're 28.
Yeah, playing that out. Go ahead.
I love it.
But as of now, I think I look at past relationships and relationships as I continue into womanhood and discovering who I am as a woman. And, soon to be 29 in my last year of my 20s, I would think back to my mother and father, right? They've been married 30 years, just celebrated that February 22nd. And so and my dad is very,
salute, by the way.
For sure. My dad has always been a solid fixture. They've been kind of a representative of what Black love means to me, and et cetera, right? But having a father who is very involved, who, to Chris's point, teaches you how to be confident, who lets you know that you're beautiful, that you are worthy, that you are loved and appreciated, and teaches you how to change a tire and do all these different things for yourself. Mm-hmm. Not that that's a bad thing, but there's times where I think as I've gotten older, I haven't always allowed a man to be a man, or I have I have perpetuated certain societal pressures, because it's like, don't worry about it. I can do it myself. I got it. So that whole independent thing that Chris was talking about earlier, not in a conscious way where I'm trying to tear someone down or anything of that nature. But I know I personally have been in situations where I'm like, I don't need to ask you because I can do it. And it's like I've had guys be like, you can ask me to help you. Like, it's okay to act like I'm that's what I'm here for, and I've had to be reminded of that.
No, that's fair.
So that's why I asked, because I do think it's a real thing.
No, it is. Go ahead, Chris.
Not to give you a relationship advice, but I always say be a kitten, not a cat. I mean, no, kittens are friendly.
This one his favorite thing. Go ahead. Tell him the kitten and cat thing. Go ahead, Chris.
Don't nobody like old mean ass cat, but that's your relationship. We're working on it. But I was thinking about what Brian said, and then I was thinking about how I was raised, right? So my father, they were married 50 plus years, just passed away a few years ago. He was the oldest of 15, right? And I can remember, they had issues, I guess, in the house, but you would only hear about it in the house. So my mom was very good at running shit, but she's not going to cross him or ever make him look, less than whatever. But I can remember a time when we were kids and I had two best friends on the block. They had a niece 2 years younger. And she was always hitting on us. I remember one time she kicked me real hard. I think we were in our kitchen. And I turned like I was going to kick her back. I might have been 6. She might have been 4. When I say that, I still remember the seriousness of the tone that my dad had, saying, don't you ever, there's never a reason, for you. I don't care what she does, it didn't hurt you. And that applied that to dating. You can't force a woman to do this. He said, you use your mind and your heart. If that woman strays from you, that wasn't the woman for you. So I think a lot of guys don't get that. Sounds like Brian's doing a wonderful job. I like hearing that, because I was that younger brother watching the older brother. But I think one of the, you see Brian, even as proud as he is, he's even acknowledged that he's made mistakes too. But like my parents used to say, you want your mistakes to be yours, not somebody else's. Mm-hmm. So that's good stuff. But I do think, having had this, I think it's okay to be a little fragile, because you got to be, you're human, right? You got to know your flaws in order to grow.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not saying that. We're talking about our fragility. We're talking about extreme fragility, right?
Yeah, we got a lot of bitch ass dudes out here. I'm cool with a lot of them. You want to be like, come on, man, stop that shit, But they, them because they hate on. It's nothing they're happy about.
Nothing.
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 That's insane.
Nothing.
I can see if something bad happened to them. Girlfriend slept with with their brother and their cousin, but they just mad. They that mad over regular shit.
Nothing. Just stupid shit. Hey, but that's a great transition, Chris. I'm glad you said that. Let's dive into this. So a lot of our ego, and I will admit this as a man, are tied to our penises, right? So we are told as men, let's just put this out here. We are told as men from I don't know how young. I don't even know when this got drilled into my head that conquering as much vagina as you can makes you a man. This is tied into your masculinity. If your numbers
Like, who
are in
told
the it was never
I don't know.
it was never stated explicitly, but it was always kind of the undercurrent of every conversation. If you have sex with 1,000 women, woo, you virile, and you are a man.
Nasty.
Women help
True.
perpetuate that, though.
Oh,
No,
boo!
women-
Don't you do that?
Women do help perpetuate that, Carson.
They love
Don't
that I was-
start.
They love that I was-
That is
They
true.
love that I was playing.
That is
We help you sleep around with different
true.
women so you feel like a man.
I'm just saying, women will gravitate to you if they know other women like.
Oh, boo! That doesn't mean you have to sleep with every woman. Y'all better stop. Y'all better stop that nonsense.
Hold on, wait.
Give it
Wait. Pause. Chris, I completely agree with you. We go circle back here. I'm gonna get my cousin here real fast. No, I agree with you. Why do you think males' egos are inexorably tied to their penises?
Because exactly what you just said. Somebody told you.
It was never said exact. It was never.
1,000 women.
It was never. They never said
Who told you
1,000.
that?
It was never stated implicitly. I'm just saying, society told me that if I slept with a lot of women, I was a man.
I can't answer that.
The little
I-
girls in my
that's
class
ridiculous.
told me in grade. Girls in your class,
I don't even
if they saw you
understand that.
talk to the two most popular girls that everybody wants to talk to.
Chris,
So the girls
say it
told me.
again.
If you
Say it
talk to the
again.
two most popular girls in your class in grade school, all the girls like you.
What does that have to do? Like you talking to a girl or hanging out with her? What does that have to do with you having
Oh,
sex with
sorry.
multiple
This
women?
is a generational thing, Carson.
That's a flaw. That is a flaw. I'm just telling you how it happened.
By
was
talking
some-
to, Chris means like dating, going out with, like not speaking.
Yeah, like you can date a woman and not like and date her, hang out with her. You can be a popular guy and still keep your dick in your pants. Like,
well, in grammar
that
school, I
isn't-
hope that everybody was keeping their dick in their pants. Not everybody, but I hope.
well,
most of us were.
unfortunately, in my generation, they were not.
Unfortunately, but what I'm saying, what Chris is saying is not to put words in his mouth, but I hear what he's saying.
No, you're
If
good,
you-
'cause
If
Yeah,
you
say
hung out
something.
with, if you were like dating, if that was like your girlfriend for, I don't give a shit if it was a month, 2 months, when you were younger, and then now every other girl is flocking to you, now you get it. Now you're like, oh, I see how this game is played.
So it kind of sets you up. It sets you up for.
It sets you up. It sets you up. But what
I mean,
I'm
well, I
saying
think that is
Yeah.
that. Well, I'm sorry, B. I think
No,
that
go
goes
ahead.
that's a universal. Well, that's a universal thing, right? Like people want what they can't have, right? They want the unattainable. So the same thing with women.
But we aren't
When
unattainable.
there is
We're
a woman,
easily attained.
well, right, this is true. But when there is a woman who in school, right? Same thing, like if we're going to grade school, right? If there's a woman who, every guy wants to date her and she doesn't really date that often, or her parents won't allow her to date or whatever, that guy all the guys are vying over who's gonna take her to prom or who's gonna hang out with her first, who's gonna sleep with her first if she's a virgin, right? Like that, everybody wants what they can't have or what seems tough to get because they want that competitive nature, that innate competitive drive to get what we don't have, to get what we want, to be better than the next.
Agreed, Carson. Here's where I'm saying this is the exact opposite of that. You're saying that everybody wants to get with that girl that went to. I'm about to talk about a school that don't even exist anymore. Anyway, I'm not even going to show my age. That went to this Catholic
Like
school
Unity.
and she had a good daddy and you couldn't barely get her out. She had to be home by 10, and all the dudes wanted to be the first to get in her little Catholic panties.
See,
That's the exact opposite for dudes. For dudes, it's like, oh, he done hit like half our class. Now I'm not saying, I'm exaggerating, but I'm saying that the dude that's getting the most is the one who you all want, as opposed to us, whereas the girl that's given the least is who we probably are. Well,
Yeah.
most interested in seriously. We might want to, fuck with the girl that's giving out the situation, but we're not taking it serious.
Well, it kind of plays on, well, if all of them were interested in him, what is it about him
Agreed.
that is so attractive to all of these women? So now I want to know and I want to experience what they are getting.
But he a hoe.
I've always been the opposite. I've always been the opposite.
That's
I
not
don't
me.
want community dick. I do not want community dick. I never have.
Never have.
Like, no, I've never been, for me, it's just kind of like, ugh, because I've always been, we spoke about feminism earlier. I don't necessarily consider myself a feminist, but a womanist, and womanism is, because that is inclusive
Facts.
to Black women.
Facts.
I will, identify there. However, I've always been, we teach our young girls to be worthy and to value themselves. And so, for me growing up, if I'm going to value myself, I wanted a guy who was going to value himself as well. Right. And not be just slinging it all over the place.
What were you saying,
I'm sorry, Chris.
You wanted the guy who'd been with nobody.
Well, it didn't have to be where he wasn't with nobody, but I didn't want him to be out here just, I knew he was with Tasha and Keisha and Jennifer and Sarah and Beth. Like, no, I didn't want that. And I still to this day, none of that's never been attractive to me. Because it's like, I want someone who values themselves as much as I value myself. So.
And Chris, I got to throw this to you. So we went to school together and we had this thing and it was like, all right, so she a 2, 3, 4 chick. Now you might ask, what's a 2, 3, 4 chick? 2 numbers, 3 letters, 4 wheels. If you had one of the 3, you were winning. If you had 2 of the 3, you were in there. If you had 3 of the 3, forget about it.
Okay, hold on. Can you repeat that? If you 3, 2, 4, what? Repeat it.
So you on a college campus, 2 numbers, which means you played on a team, basketball, football, whatever the case may be. 3 letters, you were Greek. 4 wheels, you had a whip.
And you had a car.
Gotcha.
So you were that was guaranteed pussy.
Either one of those guaranteed it. 2 of the 3,
Okay.
I don't even know how you breathe. And 3 of the 3, you didn't graduate. So
all I had was a car, but I was a Jedi Knight level documented player, like to the 10th degree. It was I
Chris,
moved in slow motion. I walked in the fucking room.
Chris, brother, we went to school together. I already know this. So I'm throwing this on you to ask the question.
Oh,
Your ego was somewhat tied to your amount of sexual activity. Why was that?
You know what? And part of it
I wasn't ready for that question, Brian. I'll be asking me no real questions.
Wait a minute. I'm not going to dodge it. Part of it could be some male fragility. Part of it is the juice you got from everybody else around you, male and female. Guys wanted to hang with you. They wanted to be where you were going to be. Girls that didn't normally speak to you, they speaking to you. What's happening at your party? When is your party? So, a lot of it is created by the people around you. So you're a dragon slayer. Now my wife walked back in the room. I'm like, I was doing this.
That's hilarious. So this is funny. I always tell the story because it's the funniest thing to me, and it actually taught me a lot even as an adult that I can never get with because my ego is so fragile. I will agree. I will co-sign. I'm gonna say I'll own this. So my guy, this is back in the day when Dragon Room was the shit. Anybody my age or in my age bracket that lived in Chicago that went to Dragon Room, you already know what I'm talking about. So we would go to Dragon Room and we would kick it. And my man, I watched him walk around the room. He would, hey girl, blah, 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 blah. Boom, boom, boom. All right, cool. Hey girl, blah, blah, blah. Buck, buck, buck. Hey girl, what's up? Buck, buck, buck. I mean, this man was getting shot down left and right. So we had a little booth and he came back to the booth after a little circle that was not fruitful. And I was like, bruh, how are you still standing? Like, how are you not being affected by all this rejection? And he said, B-False, it's a numbers game. He said, if I shoot at 20 women in here tonight and I get 3 numbers and I hit 1, Who lost? Not me.
He's a winner.
I was like, what? It blew my mind. But I could never be that dude because if I holler at one girl and she don't give me a number, I'm dead for the night. I'm floating in the water like,
Yes.
I'm over. My ego won't allow it. But he has subjugated his ego to the point where he was like, I realize I'm not the best looking cat and I'm probably not gonna win a whole lot. But the 2 or 3 times I win in the night.
Brian, that's what you just said is why I think men are less fragile. We are used to having risked it all. Women just don't have to do that as much. Yeah, that's
In the approach, I agree. In that aspect of relationships, we absolutely have to put our egos at least to the side a little bit, or shield them, or put some armor on them, or whatever the case may be. Because we got to make the approach. But after that, after we get the number and go on a date or two, then it's a different conversation. Now the ego's it's in full force.
Inflated.
It's yeah. But okay, look, sorry, circling back. We went off on a little bit of a tangent. When it comes to sex, here is why our ego is so attached to our penis. I'm lay it out for you. I'm gonna just tell you. I'm gonna let you go know, right? Everybody watching, everybody listening, I'm tell you. My cousin's already looking like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to hear this. I don't hear nothing about your penis. But anyway, not the point. Because of women, as Chris already said, I'm a co-sign this. You all have made it clear that if we are successful, not in relationships, not in business, not in negotiations, if we are successful with your sisters, not literally, sometimes literally, that's a win for us. There's no losing that for us. If you see me, if I'm fat, bald, short, $2 in my pocket, and you see me walking down the street with a beautiful, good woman, you are now at least interested enough to say, what the hell does he have going on that she was willing to hang out with him?
Not me.
Not all women. This is not a blanket statement. What I'm saying is this is successful in general. You are at least curious.
69.
No,
I'm not.
You might not go out with him, but you are asking yourself, like, how the hell did that happen?
Because he's not my type.
But how the hell did that happen?
I don't care.
Carson, how the hell did that happen? You're at least curious.
Yeah.
Dang.
I don't.
I don't care.
Thank you, Carson. You're like, yeah. I'm at least interested. Yeah.
At least curious.
At least curious.
Tamika, are you married?
Not anymore.
You act like hardcore. You act like my wife a little bit. Time she got to see Tamika. She a G. Not me.
Hey,
It's angry.
Listen. Let me tell you who you not want to make friends with. Your wife make friends with, I should say. My cousin. That mother.
Why not?
Oh, really?
No,
Really?
she's great. I'm
Really?
kidding.
Great.
I'm
Really?
kidding.
I'm a great friend.
She's a great friend. Not for you.
I'm a great cousin.
You are an amazing cousin. I don't want you and my wife being friends, though.
You scared?
I'm not. I'm sorry. We're talking to the booth now. Allison's watching. I'm kidding. You and Tamika can hang out anytime. I'm kidding. So the reason our egos are attached to our penises is because it's been proven that the more active our penis is, the more active we are. Carson is not disagreeing with this. I know, cuz you want to say it's not true, but
I like I said, I don't disagree. I hate it because for me, like I said, I'm a firm believer that if you want to sling it around the whole world, do your thing. That is fine, cool. My problem comes in when a woman decides she wants to do the same thing, and then it's an issue, right? Like men don't want to be with women who they don't, like I said, I don't want community dick, but most men don't want community pussy, right? But
absolutely
they want her to be. there's a double standard there, and that's what bothers me. And so
Why does it
it's like
bother you?
when women take ownership, like I said at the very beginning, when women take ownership over their body and they're very free in their sexual liberties, and they're transparent about that, right? And then it's a problem. And for me, it's like y'all do what you want, male, female, whatever you identify as, do what you want as long as you're safe, and you're transparent with those people that you're engaging with. But it bothers me when men can do it, but women can't.
So you feel that's the prize then? Because I thought you said you didn't value that. But if it makes you upset, it's like, okay, they got some candy and I didn't get the candy. Are you saying
No, it has nothing to do with me personally. My personal what somebody
different?
No, what somebody does with their vagina or their penis is their own prerogative. That has nothing to do with me. I have my own personal. I have my own. I didn't hear you.
I thought I heard you say you were mad that they could sleep with a bunch of guys. I mean, a bunch of women, and you can't sleep with a bunch of guys.
No, that's what I'm saying. But you're missing my point, right?
What's your point, Carl?
I said we value that. I was wondering,
right.
Women don't really value that, so why would they want to do it? You know?
No, because my thing is this: whether I value it or not, no, I don't necessarily want to be with a man who's done that. However, it is his right to do so. If that's what he feels he wants to do, he is a human being. He's a sexual being. He can do that as long as he's being safe. My problem is therefore, and if a woman decides to be with that man who's done that, that's her prerogative. I decide not to be with a man who's done that, right? However, besides all of that, who I decide to engage with or not, it is everyone's right to do so, male or female. My problem is when men, it's okay for men to do it and their egos are tied to it, so much so that if a woman does it, it's a problem. Like that's insane to me. It's insane to me that you want to sleep with the same women who you don't want your woman to be like.
I know, but men, it's not men calling them hoes, it's men and women. Everybody calling them. We don't make the double standard. Women call them hoes too.
Facts.
You don't make the double standard, you just live by it.
Again, everybody calls women hoes.
You don't no. You don't make the double standard, you just live by it.
I think I don't see nothing wrong with it. I think men and women are different, but I ain't as liberal as everybody else.
I'm liberal.
So I just want to be clear. I want to be clear. So you agree with the fact that men can do this, but women should simmer down a little bit.
I think it's an unhealthy lifestyle for men, but I think women are criticized more for it.
I think,
and you agree with that criticism.
I think his point is that you putting that on men, but women are the harshest critics of women, not us. Women.
No, both parties. I'm not saying it's one or the other. But if we're talking about fragile masculinity,
will ever be.
That's true.
I don't know.
Back to what I don't know. Earlier, men can dish it out, but they can't take it. So you don't want to see, or society doesn't want to see women doing what men have been doing.
That's not what we said.
Forever.
You saying society is saying it?
We can take it. We just not gonna be with it.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
we can take it.
Women do your thing.
But your ego is bruised if you know that the woman is doing exactly what you were doing.
My ego was bruised if we had an agreement that she was not and she does. Fuck bruised. My ego is destroyed. I'm devastated.
Annihilated that. That's fine.
But boom, nuclear deterrent. Yes.
Okay.
And I'm saying a woman is better at bouncing back from that, maybe because society tells you that's how we're built and who we are, and society tells me that's not who you are and how you're built. So at that point, if we're in a committed relationship and you step out on me, it's really not about you. It's about me. So I've got to look internally and say, how did I jack this up? Like, what's wrong with me? Where you say, that nigga ain't shit. Different.
But Brian, you would intentionally date a woman. Would you intentionally date a woman, Brian, who was sleeping around? She'd have to trick you. I mean, I would.
Sleeping around?
Yeah, if she was very promiscuous,
hold on. If she says I'm sleeping not only with you but someone else, that's when you're saying, Chris, you wouldn't deal with her then.
I mean, I might sleep with her, but I mean that ain't gonna, I'm not about
that ain't going nowhere.
Hold up there with me. I ain't buying that.
Yeah, that ain't going nowhere.
Right,
and I think it's a generational thing, right? Because like I said, we talked about like how you said women are harder on women, but generational and in regards to like millennials, I know for a fact, I've had conversations with men where they have literally dogged women for sleeping, or with single women who don't have no husband, no kids, nothing, who are completely free in the world to do what they please, have dogged them, yet they're doing the exact same thing. And it's like, why are you so upset? Or they're so willing to sleep with these women, and they're going after these women hard, wanting to sleep with these women so badly, but don't want to don't want to be with a woman like that, right? So you'll sleep with her to that point, right? You'll sleep with her, you'll have sex with her, but as far as like being with her and taking her serious, it's a problem because she is sexually free.
Yeah, a man will put his dick in a tree if he thought he could make him feel good. It is what it is.
Right.
If you grease that tree hole up, we in there, no doubt. So, Carson, you make it, and so usually, hold on, I just want to put this out here right now. We're a little bit over time, just for a hot second, but there is no Week Ho Wednesdays tonight because my man's has something to do. That's a beautiful thing, and appreciate you and love and blessings out there for my usual.
Have you seen Week Ho Wednesdays?
Week Ho Wednesdays is not happening today.
So B, yeah,
that's
Week Ho Wednesdays is actually not gonna go down today. We're gonna send our thoughts and our prayers to DJ and his family. He's dealing with a family issue. All should be well. We're gonna keep him and his family in our thoughts, and because of that, there will not be Week Ho Wednesday airing tonight. We did promote that on I Say What I Said today, that it would be happening, but unfortunately it won't be happening. And just keep Reese the Ruler and his family in your thoughts this evening.
No doubt that we hear that everything is well, but we want to make sure that we keep their family in our thoughts and prayers. Yeah, but because they are not happening tonight, we got a few extra minutes. So no, I mean, of course we hope that everything is well, but since we're here. Go ahead, Carson. You were saying something. I just want to make sure we put that out there for anybody that tuned in for the next show. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, no, like I was saying, I just think the issue at hand, whether my personal who I'll engage with, who I want aside, I hate that there's a double standard. I hate that men can again put their whole penis in a tree hole if it's wet enough and tight enough, but if a woman wants to do whatever she wants to do, it's an issue. So I just hate that double standard. I don't agree with it. And if people want to, I know there's a lot of people who claim to be religious and Christians and this, that, and the third, but I'm not and I don't mean to go on too much on a tangent. I'm not necessarily a religious person, but I am spiritual. However, I grew up in the church, and if we're talking about religion and in regards to double standards, then the Bible says a man of a double standards is a very confused man, right? And so I don't agree with it. I don't think it's okay. And so I think that has a lot to do with the male ego and it being fragile as well. To say, hey, I can do this and do that. Oh, but she do the same thing. I don't want to fuck with her. That's another form of fragile masculinity, in my opinion.
Ooh. Let me ask this. That's a good point. Let me ask this: Is that fragile masculinity, or is that just how society has positioned us as people to expect? Now it is a male, dominated patriarchy. I agree with that. I get it. I see it. White men made the rules that we abide by to this day. So I get what you're saying. So what you're saying is you want the same sexual liberties and freedoms for everyone that white men imbued upon themselves originally.
Why not? Right? Why not?
Not that they have to act on it, but that they have it.
Right. Not that they have to act on it, but why not? Right. And if they do choose to act on it, go ahead. And to answer your question, right, is you say, is it fragile masculinity or society and what society has deemed to be correct and incorrect? Well, again, fragile masculinity is a result of the societal pressures, right? It is a result of what the white man and the rules that have been put in place for you all. Like I stated earlier, I don't think fragile masculinity is necessarily a man's fault. It's how we've been groomed, how men have been groomed, how to Chris's point earlier, he said, when you're a little girl, you're in the hair salon, At a young age, you're telling you to be independent. You don't need a man. From a young age, you're hearing that, right? From a young age, young boys are hearing, boys don't cry. You're man up. You're okay. Like rub some dirt in it, whatever it may be, right? Like get over it. You're okay. And so it's like we're groomed for that, and it's a continuous thing on and on. So those two go hand in hand. That societal pressures and it being fragile masculinity. But again, once you know better, you do better. You're on mute, Chris, if you're trying to talk.
Mute you. Yeah, Chris, are you still? Are you?
Oh,
there you go.
no, that was great points, by the way. All that barbershop advice, though, was bad advice for men and women. They should be telling trying to provide or find somebody that can take care of some kids. That's what we should hear, because that's what the white people hear, right? What if the good thing is not sleeping around? What if the good thing is being a little more virtuous?
For both or just the woman?
That is a better thing. Men are doing.
Who said that?
Was that Chris's wife in the background? Was that Chris's wife in the background?
I like her.
Come over here. She over here like trying to help y'all out.
Mrs. Levy, get your ass on the screen. Come on, girl.
That's right.
Yeah, there she is.
Let them know. For the man or the woman. Being virtuous is good for everybody.
I'm saying. Why does that have to be if I'm telling you that's a bad thing that men sleep around, that's a bad thing. Something now that I'm sort of ashamed of some of my behavior in the past. Why would you want to be like that? You just want to be out here being a freak too, huh? That's the goal. Let's just be out here. Let's just be out. That shouldn't be the goal. So why would you want to be? I don't want to be everything a woman can do.
I don't think it's a thing of like I want to be able to be a freak. Exploring your sexuality and knowing what you like and having sex with this person or whoever you deem to have sex with is not necessarily being a freak or being nasty. It's being a human being. We are all sexual creatures, and that is okay. I don't think it means that you're nasty or this, that, and the third. Like I said, do what you do it in moderation, be safe when you do it, be transparent and communicate with whoever you're having sex with, and that be that. And I don't mean to take this conversation a different way, but I just feel as though it's not like,
so we in overtime. Let's do.
Right. It's like if we're gonna allow one group of people to do it without consequence, everyone should be able to do the same thing. If we're talking about equality and equity, let it be.
I think what you're saying is right and it's very progressive, but it's not the reality for the average man you're going to encounter. They're not that. It's not. Maybe it will be as the younger, Gen Z and millennials, etc. Because
she is a millennial, by the way. She is a millennial.
Well, that's why, what I'm saying. I have millennials telling me about their girlfriends having plural relationships, like, all three of them in a relationship together. And it's just like, it's cool. I was like, wow, that is different, and that's just their norm.
You want a sister wife.
Average,
we'll get you a sister wife.
The average man that you're going to meet. And then, you know what else? Different parts of the country, in the Midwest and the South, is more conservative. I would say on the coast, you might get a little bit more leniency with that, and then age is a factor. But overall, what you're saying isn't wrong. I mean, it sounds very idealistic, is the point that, people may not, some men won't even say that they disagree, but they'll say it behind the person's back.
Right.
Some people that are pretty free with their sexuality, and we do know guys, maybe whether it's society or their their masculinity being fragile or whatever, they would not convert and really be with that woman seriously because of their place value on that person and their choices. And because they had these free liberties, they felt that person was less than for them to commit to permanently or learn. And there was no other reasons pointed out other than that. And that's not a fit. You just got to have somebody that's cool with that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Great point. I should have had her on the show. Fuck you, Chris. So
right. You probably should.
That's what's up. You know what? It's an interesting dynamic that we live in. And there is a I agree, there is a age gap, and it was why I want to make sure Carson was on the show, that changes, right? That this has shifted. This thought process has changed over the years, and what we think as
Absolutely.
I'm knocking on 50.
And Carson is very well spoken, and it
Yes.
reminds you of Mariah a little bit. I mean, my daughter's 26. Y'all sound eerily similar in those views.
Oh, we have.
She's a great girl. I like her.
Debates
Yeah,
like,
she's
that's
dope.
cool. She
All
says,
night long about everything.
yeah, and she sounds eerily similar to you. So I get it. You know,
We're older now. And so
Yeah,
it's-
so
they
we're
got-
a
y'all
little bit
got-
older, and we are of the almost. We're almost of that age of the old people, right? Like back in my day, and blah 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 blah, and things
never
have
knew
shifted, and they're different, and there's a different dynamic now, and that's why I wanted to make sure Carson was here to check our old asses occasionally, because we see it one way and they see it a different way, and I'm glad that these things have shifted in a certain way, right? Old school people say old school values. Here's what's frank about old school values. The man ran the show. The only reason the women stayed as long as they did was because they didn't have no financial options to leave. And people say grandma and them, they was different. They were different because grandpa had a whole different family 3 blocks away because he could do it and grandma couldn't afford to go nowhere. So that's all cute and nice, and there was different values and blah, blah, blah. Listen, I want the ladies to be empowered and do what they do and make their decisions, and I love a modern woman. If you want to go out there and do what you want to do sexually, I push you to explore that. Make it happen. Why is it just us? Why are we holding on to these old school values? Do your thing. Now, that don't work for me in a relationship, but I'm an old man. Younger cats probably a little bit familiar with this.
Right.
Tamika, we are gonna wrap it up.
so you just found a man that treats you well and got a lot of money. Just start there.
I don't find somebody that loves you and who you really are, and then figure it out.
Whatever.
From there.
That's bad.
And if they got a couple of dollars, even better.
That won't hurt.
That won't hurt.
My daughter's not telling me somebody broke. You bring whatever you want, but don't bring home no broke.
Wait,
no
broke. Well,
Oh,
broke. That
gosh.
we not.
Oh, gosh.
We're not saying
Don't
broke.
do broke.
That's a whole different thing.
Broke-
We're gonna wrap this up though.
broke-
We gotta stay out here all night. Tamika,
Yeah.
final thoughts on
Cuz.
any of this. Cuz.
Because I don't know. I like final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Final
The male ego.
I agree with what you said. You know, times are changing, and people are more liberal and just doing them. So continue to do you. If that makes you happy, then so be it.
You've always done you though.
I have. That's probably why I'm single.
You just got to play the game. Just make us think we in control. We know we ain't.
That's
Just
right.
make us think we are.
We're gonna have an after dark conversation with you and some other folks and see what we can do about that. Chris, final thoughts, brother.
You know, I came here. Thank you, ladies, for making me look at things a little differently. I can be a little stubborn, but you know, I have sat here now and I'm like, there's more fragility in the male species than I thought, even myself. So I thank you all for that. Because I always say, once I learn a little bit more, I think we all should try to learn and grow. And I've learned that, you know, what I knew already, women are even stronger than I thought. And I think men are a little more fragile than probably what I thought. So
Look, I don't know that I've ever heard him say that before.
I know, you know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I grow a little bit. I grow a little bit, small bit.
That's my man.
You know,
That's my man.
Doesn't happen often.
That's my man.
I would, if I was in a Facebook debate, though, I'd die first before I say I'm on. No, I'm just kidding.
He said on my show, I would never say that. I love that.
I would never say that shit. Do I?
Carson, final thoughts.
Yeah, fragile masculinity is a thing, as well as fragile femininity. I think, again, once you know better, you do better. Don't live by double standards. Once you realize that these things are all things that are initially out of our control. But again, to my point earlier, once you know better, you do better. You realize that this is everything that we do. I think we have to question ourselves and ask why Why do we feel the need to brag and boast? Why do we feel the need to sleep around to make us manly? Why do women feel the need not to explore their sexuality? And I think that all comes from societal pressures. And so, again, once you know better, you do better, and you adjust and you live life for you. To your point earlier with your boys, you teach them, and you teach them how you said you teach them to, don't believe your own bullshit. Don't put out bullshit because you'll get it back. So for the viewers, the listeners, don't believe your own bullshit. Don't believe your own shit. Be who you are. Be confident in that, regardless of what society tells you should be, or how you should act, or how you should move. Move how you need to move for you, for the life you want to live. And once you know better, you do better.
No doubt. She done said that about 6 times. I love it. Once you know better,
yeah, I gotta know.
You do better. I agree. I think my final thought is that egos, is particularly male egos, are tied into societal constructs that are built on a foundation of bullshit. So let that go. Let it ride.
Sure.
Find yourself, who you really are, right? Get in tune with how you feel about you and the people around you, and let all that other nonsense go. It's not healthy. It's not worth it. It's not beneficial. It won't serve you well in the end. Even if you find somebody that buys into your ego-ness or your egocentricity, in the end, that's going to crumble because it's not built on a foundation of strength or knowledge or realness. So let's an ego can be healthy in the right construct. Let that negative construct go. Let your ego be built on your self-confidence, because it is. It's me and her were just tripping on this earlier today. Like your self-confidence. How could I destroy your confidence? Self-confidence. It's your confidence. It's called self-confidence for a reason. So build it upon the right things, because you do the right things. And if it's built upon you doing the wrong things in your car and your house and the little job you got, those aren't the right things. Those are part of the stew, but that is not the gumbo. That is like the base. And then build the rest of that up upon who you are as a person and what you do, and as a person, how you build your community, how you build your family, how you build yourself. If you're comfortable with you, the real you, not the Facebook you, not the Twitter you, not the Instagram you, not the Snapchat you, the real you, that'll shine through and you win, and the person you wind up being with wins as well. Hey, y'all, that's another episode of In His Own Podcast. We on the What's In It for the Black People Network. We will see you next week, same time, same place. Next week, I got 3 brothers that served in the military, and we're going to talk about, should a black man be in the military today? Is that a realistic?
Oh, I gotta tune into that one.
Tune in. Is that for real? Is that still a thing we should do, shouldn't do? How they felt in that space while they were doing it. And we're talking about 3 lifelong military men. And trust me, they do not all agree with where they wound up in that space. So we'll see you next week, 7 o'clock Wednesday. Love you. In His Own Podcast. We'll talk then.
Peace.
Herb, hit me with a little music, brother. Something hip-hoppy.
Hip-hoppy?
Nah, or slow. I don't give a shit.
What's in it for the black people? Cause economically we are not equal. Waking up to last case doze no more. I told y'all this, that danger.